Hey guys, what's going on? And welcome back to a brand new video. And today we have got a Manchester United rebuild, but this time we're going to be rebuilding the club without the Glazer family involved. Something which I'm pretty sure every Manchester United fan wants to see. The Glazers gone, and this is the closest we're going to get to it, guaranteed. So let's see how we can rebuild this club with the Glazers out of the door in 5 seasons. Now, this is going to be a mixture to see of the players that we're able to bring in under new ownership, and also what trophies we can bring to the club. If you do like this idea for a video, then please do leave a like on this video. Be sure to comment below any future rebuilds you want to see, and please do subscribe to the channel. But let's get into Season 1 and see how we do. So when you take on the Manchester United job, now to start with, we are going to have the Glazers. I'm going to have to edit that out, and I don't know what owners are going to come in. Obviously, I'm going to let the game decide that, and then it's going to be a mystery of how we actually do under new ownership. Hopefully, they've got a little bit of money, though. That is one thing we do need. But media prediction is actually 4th, which is a little bit disappointing. Obviously, back in the day, a few years ago, Manchester United would be expected to win the league pretty much every season, but things have changed, and not for the good. Obviously, we don't have as big of a reputation anymore in terms of, you know, what we're expected to do in the season, personally, I believe, as a United fan. Obviously, the history's still there, but currently, you wouldn't say Manchester United are predicted to win the Premier League, would you? I think, you know, you'd arguably say they're predicted possibly to get top 4. Even then, it could be a stretch. We failed to do so last season, and possibly could do the same this season. So 4th place isn't going to be too hard to achieve, hopefully. Obviously, this can all change, obviously, with demands from new ownership, etc., depending on how demanding they are as owners. But moving on then, so the squad that we've got actually is quite good. I'm not going to sit here and complain, because the squad we have, there are players that I do want to get rid of. Some players are going to be hard to move on, but the likes of, obviously, Ronaldo, I really like Ronaldo, but I just think his attitude has really killed it recently. I'm probably going to keep him for a year and then try and move him on, purely because it is difficult to move him on in the first season. I've tried on several saves. Going forwards, I would obviously try and like to get rid of possibly Aaron Wan-Bissaka moving forward, possibly Harry Maguire after a few seasons. I definitely want to get the likes of Martinez involved. I want to try and have a partnership of him and Varane, but obviously, as good as Martinez was against Liverpool game, I do think as United fans, we have to be a little bit reasonable and just remember that Liverpool didn't have quite a physical striker, and obviously he's not faced, you know, there's a lot tougher strikers to face than what he faced against Liverpool. So we just got to be a little bit reasonable with that. And obviously on this game as well, he's not rated as high in the ability. So when I do simulate the season, he probably won't start a game or start many games. Obviously, also the likes of Fred and McTominay are players that I will look to move on, possibly as well as De Gea, depending on what system I play. If I want to play out from the back, then De Gea probably is not the best option for me. But to be fair, I'm looking at the squad. Obviously, we've got Casemiro added in here as well. The squad is actually really good on paper. It's just about getting the players to play and putting the shift in. And with a budget of £32 million, it's not loads, but I feel like we definitely can sign someone. Obviously, you can have installments selected in that as well. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a little bit of time, look over the squad again, actually on the tactics page, and see where we can sign some players. So this is going to be Season 1 of the transfers, and I wanted to keep it as realistic as possible, and that is what I've done. So we've actually, the only sign that we've personally made, obviously I transfer Casemiro over because that's already a sign that Manchester United have made, a good one at that, a little bit old but fantastic player. Anthony then is going to be the additional signing for £75 million. That is around £25 million, or that's euros I suppose, but rumoured it's meant to be about 100 million euros what we are going to be paying for him. So pretty similar, to be honest. £75 million, quite pricey for a player that actually hasn't scored a lot of goals at all in each, Bundesliga, in each Dutch league season. But at the end of the day, I would trust him. I would trust the call from Ten Hag. He's worked with him a lot. And obviously, if he can get him clicking, then why not sign him? But we're going to talk about these players then. So Casemiro is an absolutely fantastic player. There's no taking that away from him. I think he's won so much in the game, whether that be, you know, Champions League, league titles, whatever it is. He reminds me, well, he's sort of like a Varane, isn't he, in what he's won. He's won pretty much everything in the book, obviously what he can win. Fantastic player. His age is quite worrying. Not worrying, essentially, but what I'm saying is it is a reasonable amount of money to be paying for a player, but obviously Manchester United was stuck. They needed to sign a defensive midfielder. Real Madrid knew that. They really could have charged what they wanted. So it's not a horrific signing at all. Obviously, Hopefully he doesn't get cursed with injuries and stuff like that, and we probably could get 4 to 5 years out of him. So hopefully he does turn in to what is a very, very good signing. And this player here is obviously, if we're talking about in the game, he's absolutely fantastic. Good attributes, good potential on him. Really big fan of signing this player in whatever save that I need a winger in. In real life, I think this is purely down to Ten Hag. He's worked with him before. You have to trust the judgment. In terms of statistics, he probably wouldn't be the first player I'll go for. But to be honest, if Ten Hag's worked with him, he knows what he's about. I think you've got to back the manager, because that is one thing that we have not been doing recently with managers at all. So, going into what is going to be the first season, I am going to be using my tactic, my Ten Hag tactic. Now, into the future in a few seasons, I might try and actually play a 4-3-3, because I do quite like playing a 4-3-3, getting Fernandes a little bit deeper into that role there. But we're going to start off with this system and see how it goes. So we're going to start with De Gea, Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Maguire, Shaw, Casemiro, Eriksen, Sancho, Fernandes, Rashford and Martial. Now, this is the team that I would put out on paper. Obviously, when this thing starts simulating, probably Dallow's going to be playing there. Obviously, Ronaldo will be starting up top, and they might even shift about the midfield. But that is what I'm going to... That would be my choice team to start a game. Actually, I'll take Wan-Bissaka out and probably put Dallow in. But that would be my choice team to start with. But let's go in and see how we do in the first season after only making a couple of signings. So, that is going to be season 1 completed, and there's a lot of red on here, but we've got to take the positive, and that is that we managed to win the Premier League within 1 season. Now, the good thing about this is, obviously, it's an instant bounce back. We weren't expected to win it. We managed to actually, finish 4th. So, the end of the day, we've excelled in that category. We only won it by a few points, but Ronaldo's top goal scorer, scoring 47 goals. Runners up in the FA Cup against Leeds, definitely should have won that. Lost in the quarters against Barcelona and the quarters in the Carabao Cup against Manchester City. 99 goals scored and 34 conceded. So not a flawless season by any means of the imagination, but we won the big one, which is going to be the Premier League, the trophy which we did actually want to win massively. Now, Cristiano Ronaldo did actually finish as top goal scorer. 24 goals coming in from Bruno Fernandes as well. 16 from Marcus Rashford. In terms of assists, we've got 10 coming in for Ronaldo, 13 for Eriksen, 15 for Fernandes, 10 for Scott McTominay, and 8 for Luke Shaw. Also 8 for Rashford. And actually, don't know why I didn't say this, Jadon Sancho having a decent season with 14 assists and also 8 goals. Going over to the next season, that is going to be £67 million that we do have to spend. And this is where I want to say, guys, we have actually successfully got new owners now. We've got new owners at the club. So from this point onwards, which is what I wanted to do, I didn't want to switch the ownership right at the start, because obviously the Glazers were responsible for getting Casemiro in, and also the Anthony deal. Possibly they might get over the line. But from this point onwards, the Glazers aren't at United. They're gone. All them protests have finally paid off. We've got new owners. So now this point onwards, we're going to see the type of players we can bring in and how we can actually turn this club around. Now, if you guys do want the Glazers gone from the club, as do I, as do many United fans, smash a like on this video right now, and let's see how many people can vote for them to leave. But let's see what we can do in the next transfer window and hopefully bring in some more players. So, this is going to be the second transfer window then, and we turned, well, I'm going to be honest, we tried to sign De Jong, but his wage demands were way too much to the point where we couldn't even do it. He wanted £675,000 a week, something which we were not prepared to pay. So I turned to what is also a very strong link, which I don't know if we're going to pull it over the line, probably not, but that is going to be Milinkovic-Savic, a very good midfield player from Lazio. Probably all the FIFA players out there have heard of him more than anyone else, but a very good player, costing us £80 million, but to be honest, that's half of what De Jong would have cost us, and he is still a very good player, as we can see here. World-class midfielder, 27 years old, so he's already sort of 3 years younger than Casemiro, so I don't mind signing someone around that age. He's easily got sort of 5 to 6 years in him before we possibly, and I say possibly, even see a decline on him. His attributes are really, really, really well-rounded, to be honest with you. Quite tall as well in the midfield. Good fitness, good jumping, good stamina, good strength, good determination. Good pretty much on everything. Just a player that is going to get into the first team quite convincingly and hopefully can really shape that team up. It doesn't stop there, though, and there are a lot of outgoing players here. So we're going to talk about the players first that we did actually offload, and that is going to be Cristiano Ronaldo. Just wanted to get rid of him because I'm not a big fan of his attitude, to be honest. Despite the goals, I know what I want in and what I want out. Ronaldo going back to Real Madrid for 9 million. They also take De Gea off our hands here for 35 million. And also Fred goes to Rennes and Phil Jones goes to Real Sociedad. So 71 million pounds actually coming in from transfers. And this is why we can spend a little bit more. So we bring in Thomas Strakosha from Brentford for £23.5 million. A player, again, that we have been linked with, hence why I've signed him. Try and keep it as realistic as possible, especially in the first few seasons. And then this one we haven't been linked with, but this is one striker on the market that I think we possibly could lure in the future when we do need one. And that is going to be Alexander Isak from Real Sociedad for £77 million. Now, this goalkeeper might not look the best actually in terms of attributes, but this is purely a realism signing. We've been linked with him quite heavily. We've been linked with Jan Sommer, who I couldn't sign on here. Been linked with Kevin Trapp, who I didn't really want to sign. This is another player we've been linked with, and a player who he doesn't look too bad, to be honest, model citizen as well. And do you know what? He doesn't actually look too bad at all. So it's going to be a battle between him and Dean Henderson. Obviously, Dean Henderson is now back at the club, so it's going to be a complete battle for that first team spot. And I think that's what we need. We need competition for that first team spot. And then the next player we sign, I'm pretty sure everyone's heard of him. That is going to be Alexander Isak. Obviously, a player which, you know, as I said, I imagine a lot of people have heard of him. Very good player in the game. Great potential on him. Good finishing as well. Quite quick. Reasonably tall. And if there's a player that I think might not in the first season, but possibly could replace the goals that Cristiano Ronaldo could score and did score, it is going to be this guy. I didn't want to go out and sign someone unrealistic. At the end of the day, I think the strikers that are on the market, this is one of the few players that might choose Manchester United over other teams. So hopefully, you know, he sort of repays me and does deliver on what I've just said. And this is going to be the team going into the following season, which is going to be the second season. That is going to be Strakosha, Dalot, Varane, Martinez, Shaw, Milinkovic-Savic, Eriksen, Fernandes, Sancho, Rashford, and Isaac. So we've already seen Casemiro actually be dropped to the bench there, which is a bit of a surprise. But at the end of the day, that team on paper is absolutely fantastic. Martinez actually getting into the team when I filter by best, so that's always good to see as well. But let's get into the second season and see how we do in terms of trophies and hopefully win the Premier League back-to-back. Well, the second season's been completed and unfortunately, we didn't win the Premier League and it is a little bit of a disappointing season. I'm going to be honest. I was expecting a lot better considering our new man has scored more goals than Ronaldo in his first season. 65 goals. Sancho with 27 assists. Scored the number one best of goals, 133. Third best at conceding. So probably that tells us where we need to strengthen next. First knockout round against Atletico Madrid. Shocking. Second in the Premier League. Not too annoyed considering Liverpool had a very, very good season. We won the FA Cup against Chelsea, lost in the fourth round of the Carabao Cup, and we did win the Community Shield. So we still won 2 trophies, but it's very disappointing, mainly in the Champions League, which I'm annoyed about. But in terms of stats on the players, they did have good seasons, so it's not down to the players. So obviously, it's just about, I imagine, strengthening that back line up now. This is why I always like to see this. You can see where you're not doing as well as, which is always a good sign. Now, 65 goals coming in from Isaac. I say Isaac. 21 goals coming in for Sancho, 20 for Fernandes, 20 for Rashford, 17 for Milinkovic-Savic, 15 for Varane, and 10 for Anthony. Also Martial, only 9 appearances, some of them as a sub as well, coming in with 7 goals. In terms of assists, we've got 10 for Isaac, 27 coming in for Sancho, 20 for Fernandes, 10 for Rashford, 8 for Milinkovic, 13 for Anthony, 25 for Eriksen. So, and also 12 coming in for Dalot from right back. So in terms of stats, we're not struggling to score, we're not struggling to assist. I think this next season is going to be about strengthening up that back line, possibly bringing in some new players as well, and just, you know, strengthening it up, because at the end of the day, you can't be scoring that amount of goals and not winning as much as what, you know, we didn't win. We've got a great attack now. We've got 2 fantastic wingers who are really performing under this management and this new ownership. And obviously we've got Isaac, who is one of the best strikers in the game at putting the ball in the back of the net. We do have £103 million to spend going into what is going to be the third transfer window. So let's go over and actually sign some players. I'm going to do a little bit of scouting, get a list together, and I'll come back to you with the players that we are able to bring in. Before we do get into the third season of transfers though, guys, please do leave a like on this video. It helps the video get found. It means a lot when I see the video do well. It encouraged me to make more rebuilds and all of this and all of that. I also do want to say there is a poll going on at the moment on my community tab, which is vote on whether you want to see me live stream on this or on Twitch. Please do go and drop a vote on there. At the moment, YouTube is absolutely dominating it, but I do want to see what you guys think, because I do want to bring the live streams back big time in the next Football Manager. But let's go over to Season 3 of the transfers and see how we do. So, a lot of action in this third transfer window, and there is actually going to be 2 pages, so don't be alarmed when I've spent 255 million, because we have also sold some players on the next page as well. Obviously, we've seen all of this, apart from Tellez, who does go to Rangers for 9.2 million, just because we've got Malacia, we've got Luke Shaw. I don't feel like we need a third left-back option. In terms of players then, so we bring in Mira Demaral, I hope so you say that, from Atalanta for 48 million. He's a really good centre-back and just replaces the likes of what you're going to see who I sold on the next page. A very good player. Pedro Porro, obviously a fantastic upcoming wonder kid right-back / right-winger, depending on where you want to play him. For us, he's going to be a very attacking fullback. From Sporting for 37.5 million. I actually think that's quite a steal, to be honest. He's an absolutely fantastic player, and for that price tag, I had to snap him up. And then another player who is heavily linked with us is going to be Cody Gakpo from PSV for 69 million. Definitely overpaid for him, but I really wanted him purely for the realism factor, and he's actually a really good player inside of this game. Going over to the second page of more players that we offloaded, we decided to sell Bailly and Lindelof, both of them, to Monaco for 8.25 million and 11.5. So quite nice they get to move together. Aaron Wan-Bissaka finds himself going to Barcelona because he will not be playing to Barcelona, as I just said, for 30.5 million, which is quite good, because that means we ended up paying roughly about 6.5 million for Pedro Porro, if you calculate what we sold to bring in. And then Pellistri, just because I don't really see him actually having a future here, to Sporting for £6.5 million. Going over some of the players then. This is going to be the first player. Now, he might not get into the team right off the rip. Arguably, when you look at this, he might. He's just as good as Maguire and a little bit better than Martinez in terms of statistics and attributes. But at the end of the day, I've got him just to bolster that sort of, that squad. I wanted to offload Bailly and Lindelof, bring in some fresh faces. His aggression is absolutely through the roof. He's very tall, great tackling, not the quickest, reasonably okay though at that, to be fair. Very strong, good teamwork and good work rate. Pretty much everything you want from a centre-back, and also driven. So hands down, a very, very good signing there. We then go across to Pedro Porro. Obviously, again, a driven player, very, very good at that right-back position. He can play pretty much anywhere on the right-hand side of the pitch. Very, very quick. Again, his tackling has got a bit of improvement to do, but he's got the potential to improve, and that is what I'm fine to take that on. Him and Dalot can fight it out. Obviously, Porro will be starting ahead of Dalot quite often. Good vision, though. Good off the ball. Good flair. Like I said, his tackling isn't the best compared to some right-backs, but he is a very, very attacking fullback, and I quite like that in a system. Going over to is going to be a Gakpo. Now, this guy was a signing which I did make purely because of realism reasons, to be honest. I did want him to be in the team because I want to try and bring in as many people that I've seen linked, because it makes the rebuild feel so much more realistic. And again, even if he wasn't linked, I would be heavily tempted to bring this guy in, and I do recommend this guy on any of your saves as well, even if it is going to be a squad player like it is for me, because he can play comfortably on both wings. He can also play up front, which is always good because injuries do occur quite often in Football Manager. He's got decent finishing, reasonably quick as well, and also he's just got the ability to grow. Don't get me wrong, obviously, if you've got tons and tons of money, we're talking hundreds of millions, there obviously are better players. But this guy is a great option to have on the bench. He can cause a lot of issues when he comes on. Very good long shots on him as well, to be fair. And what you are getting with this guy is a player that can play in 3 positions comfortably, 4 if you class this as comfortable as well. So he's just a very good versatile player to have in your team. And this is what the team looks like. And I wanted to show you this because I've switched to a 4-3-3, as I mentioned. And a huge shout out to RDF for this tactic. I don't know if I've tested this yet, but it looks very, very good. It promises to score loads of goals. And trust me, it did. A very, very good tactic creator, probably the best tactic creator on YouTube. So hats off to him. I know that's one of the reasons I started making tactics, is because I love watching his. Now, this is really good for this team as well, because we've got Shashka in goal. Porro, Demaral actually does come right into the team. Varane, Shaw, Casemiro, Milinkovic-Savic, Fernandes, Rashford, Sancho and Isaac on on the bench up front. We then have Dean Henderson, Maguire, Ericsson, Gakpo, Dalot, McTominay, Martial, Martinez, Donny van der Beek, Anthony, Tuanzebe, Diallo, all on the bench. Now, that bench is honestly incredible. And that is exactly why I've tried to keep hold of some of these players, which a lot of people want gone. So McTominay probably will depart at some point, but having him on the bench is fine. It's just when he's starting all the time, he's not good enough to start and win trophies. But that bench is really, really good. Some dangerous players to come on. Obviously, we've not even talked a lot about Donny at all this episode, a player who is finding it hard to get into the team in real life and also on this game as well. So I do wish that he does, get a little bit of game time under his belt. But this midfield trio is honestly incredible. Obviously, ideally, we would get De Jong in there. Unfortunately, we've not been able to push that deal over the line so far. I try it every season. If we can't do it, we can't do it. It's as simple as that. But let's get in to the next season and see how we do in terms of results. So, season 3, again, unfortunately, we didn't manage to win the Premier League, but we did manage to win the Champions League, which is a huge accomplishment, win the FA Cup and also the Carabao. So we won the treble, arguably, also not arguably, but we could have won the quadruple, but Liverpool do take the Community Shield from us. We were the best at scoring goals and now also the best at conceding, only letting in 20. So that proves that them defensive signings we've made have improved us a lot at the back, and that was the point of making them. So very, very proud of that. And unfortunately, we lost out on the Premier League by a point. We can't be too annoyed. Obviously, it would make the season look a lot better. But at the end of the day, we are improving the squad. As you can see, winning the Champions League is never easy accomplishment. And it's quite good that we've won the Premier League. Now we've won the Champions League. We've been winning English trophies as well. So far, so good in this rebuild. Now, in terms of stats, we've got 44 goals from Isaac, 36 for Sancho, having one hell of a season. 24 for Rashford, 19 for Fernandes, 17 for Demaral from set pieces, I imagine, 11 for Varane, 10 for Savic, and 10 for Anthony. Porro also getting 8. In terms of assists, we've got 11 from Isaac, 21 for Sancho. What a season that is. 18 for Rashford, 39 for Fernandes, 9 for Milinkovic, 7 for Anthony, 15 for Porro in his first season as well, and 13 for Ericsson. So, again, the stats are very, very good to see. Everyone's getting involved. There's loads of stuff going on, and you know what? I mean, the stats aren't the issue at the end of the day. We were so close to winning the Premier League, and that would have been a quadruple. If we literally would have got an extra point in the Premier League, an extra 2 points in the Premier League, actually, I think it would have been an extra point. Let's have a look. Better goal difference. If we would have got an extra point in the Premier League and won another final, which was the Community Shield, we would have won 5 trophies. That's how close we are to dominating world football as we know it. And going into the next season, we've got £76 million to spend. So we are going to try and bolster the team once again, as you have to do. And hopefully these new owners keep allowing us to sign players, because so far they've been beyond generous and we're absolutely loving it. So let's get into the 4th transfer window and see who we can bring in. So we've had a couple of issues here now, because I actually didn't want to sell Ericsson, but he wouldn't sign a new contract. He wasn't happy. He's only getting older. So I offloaded him to Arsenal for £39.5 million. And what we've done is we've replaced him with a younger and, in my opinion, better player. Is going to be Nkunku from Leipzig for £39 million. So we've not actually lost out on any money. We brought in a younger player with better potential. And we also managed to get Leon Goretzka on the free from Bayern, who, again, is one hell of a signing. Not a signing I probably would have went and made if he wasn't free. Not saying he's bad, just purely because I wouldn't have actively looked for another sort of older age midfielder. But on the free, to add to the team, why not? We've not spent a single penny on him. He's absolutely fantastic. Why wouldn't you sign him? And then we go over and bring in another centre-back, purely because we do actually decide to sell Harry Maguire for 20 million, and also Scott McTominay finally goes to PSG for 59 million. They offered £59 million because he wasn't actually playing too bad. So we sold him when we could. And that is why it sort of made sense to bring in Goretzka, because obviously we sold McTominay. I know Goretzka's slightly older, but at the end of the day, he's better than McTominay, and he has still got a few years in him. We then spend a little bit of money, though. I say a little, £75 million worth on Wesley Fofana from Leicester. He wants to leave Leicester in real life. Why not come to Manchester United? We're having a great time at the moment. He may as well join, and that is what he's done. So going over the first player then, on the free, worth 107 million. So, I mean, very, very good business out of us, even if he lasts a couple of seasons and then we sell him. He's absolutely fantastic in that position. His attributes are pretty much all in the green. Fantastic. Quite tall as well for a midfield player. Absolute unit. You've seen how that meme about how buy and turn players into absolute machines. This guy is a unit on the ball. Absolutely fantastic. And to be honest, probably will get quite a decent amount of game time in the side. Going over to Nkunku, a player that, you know, isn't having the best sort of time in this save, but a player that I do back and I will back forever because I know what he can do. He's got a little bit of room for growth, and for that time of, you know, how we lost Eriksen, it wasn't ideal. I wanted to bring in a player who I do trust, who I do like, and that is going to be Nkunku. Again, a player who probably will leave Leipzig in real life. I know he did sign a new deal, but at the end of the day, some club is going to have to go in for him. If no Premier League clubs go, you know where he'll go. It'll be Bayern Munich, because this guy obviously got player of the season in the Bundesliga last year, one of the hottest prospects in that division, and, you know, what a player he is. And then the last player obviously is going to be a player that is publicly asked to leave Leicester. Probably will go to Chelsea in real life, but in this save, he decided to go to the best team in Manchester. That's just a joke at the moment anyway. That is going to be with us at Manchester United, worth 81 to 110 million. Fantastic defender again, only 23, good potential, great tackling, very quick as well, 6'3", good positioning, and this guy should get into the first team pretty much right away, probably alongside of Demaral there, if we're being honest, if not Varane. Probably him and Varane, I would imagine, but fantastic signing, and that makes the team, I mean, 10 times better. And this is what the team now looks like. So we've got Jagoshka in goal. Sorry if I'm really butchering that. Porro, Fofana, Varane, Shaw, Casemiro, Milinkovic, Fernandes, Rashford, Sancho, and Isaac. And again, the bench now looks even better because we've added obviously Nkunku and Goretzka on the bench. Goretzka and Nkunku on the bench is honestly ridiculous. It's two absolutely incredible midfield players that aren't even guaranteed first team football. They will get game time, but just that shows how far we've taken this team now with the new ownership. This is what could happen if we get new owners. We're going to be given hopefully a little bit more license to roam in the transfer market, possibly even attract more players, depending on who does take over the club. But let's get into the fourth season and see how we do. So the fourth season has come upon us, and unfortunately we don't manage to win a Champions League back-to-back, but we do get all the way to the finals and lose to Liverpool, lost in the Super Cup against Real Madrid. So that's 2 trophies there, which we missed out on. We've won the Premier League again, absolutely dominating it. Marcus Rashford having one of the best seasons I've ever seen him have. Now, I do know for a fact that this guy was playing up front for a few of the games because Isaac was injured and was underperforming. So Isaac could be a player that we actually do decide to move on, if not drop him to the bench. So we managed to win the Premier League, we win the Community Shield. We also do win the FA Cup. So it is a treble winning season, scoring 162 goals, only conceding 21 as well. So I need to shout at RDF for this because this tactic is honestly nuts. So hats off to him. In terms of stats then, we're going to have 72 goals coming from Rashford, 50 for Isaac, 23 for Fernandes, 23 for Sancho, 15 for Fofana, and 10 for Goretzka. In terms of assists, we've got 20 for Rashford, 25 for Isaac, 34 coming in for Fernandes, 17 coming in for Sancho, and 12 coming in for Goretzka. 11 also coming in for Savic. Why are these down there? Because I've not filtered them. And also 18 coming in for Nkunku. So again, this guy coming on a lot as a substitute, contributing with 18 assists. So fantastic play out of him. Now, when I say Isaac was underperforming, I don't mean he was playing really, really bad. I don't know that, because at the end of the day, this guy's got 25 assists and 50 goals. So I don't know why Rashford was playing up top. As soon as Rashford scored that amount of goals, I was like, there's no way he's done that on the left-hand side. I clicked on a load of the games, looked at the team lineups, and it was Rashford that was up top for quite a few of them. So I don't know what was going on there, whether that was just a managerial decision, my assistant manager, who is still Mike Phelan, by the way. I probably should have changed that, but I don't know why that was happening, but I will look into it and see what we need to do, because going into the next transfer window, which is going to be the 5th transfer window, we've actually been given £122 million, which is a lot of money to spend. The new owners are absolutely phenomenal and really helping us out a lot when it comes into spending money. Now, let's get into the 5th transfer window and see who we bring in the last season. So, again, we've been quite active going into this last transfer market. As always, we've been active in every window, which is something that we do love to see. We managed to sign Justin Bilal from Inter Milan for 80 million. This is basically just so we cement a world-class goalkeeper. Do you know what? this is something I'm noticing in Football Manager. There's actually quite a lack of really good potential-wise goalkeepers that are available for transfer. You can go out and sign like an Oblak and Edison, but obviously they're all older players. So when you try and sign someone 5 seasons in, your options are actually quite limited. So that's something which also in real football, like, if you think about upcoming goalkeepers, there are a few, but not a lot really compared to, like, if you look at upcoming positions in other areas like midfielders, forward players. That goalkeeper position is like, it is a little bit scary, to be honest. Like, you'd think there'd be a lot more upcoming players. Like, for me, the young goalkeeper, which really strikes me at the moment, that's up and coming, which, you know, is doing really well for himself, is probably someone like Ramsdale, who's a good goalkeeper, but there's not as many as what I'd think there would be. But that's not where we stop there, because we do sell Isaac to PSG for £109 million, and we do sign a Demi from PSG for £150 million. So that sounds a lot of money, and it is, but when you see this guy, you'll know why he costs so much. He's a lot better than Isaac, and we only spent, obviously, £41 million out of our own pocket because we did sell Isaac to them, and we took one of their players. So at the end of the day, I actually think we've done quite well there because we've got a better player, only spent 41 million in terms of what we are going to get, and you will see how good he is. And we do not manage to get De Jong, but we finally managed to get Declan Rice, which is a player I've been going after, from Barcelona again, for £120 million. Now, this guy is expensive, but he is bloody good, and he will get into the team, if not this season, the next season, because Casemiro is getting older, and he will need, not replace him, but he can't hack playing every single game. And this is going to be what these players sort of look like in terms of attributes. So, this goalkeeper, again, right off the rip, might not look that much better, but his attributes are better. He's 27, so again, we really did struggle to sign a goalkeeper that is quite young, but this guy is very good. 27 is quite young for a goalkeeper anyway. He's sort of got, what, I mean, 8 years in him probably, depending if we can keep him happy at the club. Obviously, this is our last season, but I always like to talk, you know, theoretically, like we are going to play this going on and on and on. But again, a very good goalkeeper. Goalkeepers cost an absolute fortune on this game when you are after a certain caliber of player. We then obviously talk about Ademi, and this guy, I mean, the guy's flawless. Worth 250 to basically £300 million. 5-star ability, 5-star potential, elite striker at the age of 23. You're talking about a striker now where you have got 10 years in him. 10 years before you see any decline. His finishing's exceptional, absolutely rapid, good technique, good pens, good off the ball, good determination. There's literally not a negative side to this player. Literally nothing. No negatives at all. So I would go after this player. I would spend any amount. And to be honest, what I spent on him out of our own pocket being 41 million is an absolute steal. World-class player, probably the best striker, if not top 3 strikers in this save. We then don't stop there. We then go ahead and we sign Declan Rice, again a player that's worth between 217 to 240 million pounds. Elite midfield player at the age of 26, again very, very young, considering obviously we could have signed him a little bit before, but I'll give him time to develop into this sort of player, and he is honestly incredible. Fantastic attributes all the way around, good height on him as well, good positioning, good teamwork, good work rate, good leadership, good determination, good composure, good passing, good tackling, and again, if he doesn't get into this team, he, like, as in the first team this season, he will the following season. And this is what the team looks like. So he does actually get right in. And this team now is got to be one of the best rebuilds I think I've ever done. And since it's the team I support, it means that little bit extra. So we have got Bilal in goal. We've got Porro, Varane, Fofana, Shaw. Shaw's stuck with us because he has been very good and he's really grown as a player. Declan Rice, Goretzka, Fernandes, Rashford, Sancho, Ademi. And on the bench, obviously got Drakoshka still on the bench. We've got Demaru, we've got Savic, Martial, Dalot, Casemiro, and Nkunku, Martinez, Anthony, Gakpo, Twanzebe, Van der Beek, Dean Henderson, Malacia, and Diallo. So the players we have on the bench are arguably good enough to win your titles anyway. Some of these players are nuts. So, I mean, what we've done with this team is honestly ridiculous. We have transformed this team into pretty much everyone on this pitch is now a world-class player. By far, these two wingers here are Rashford and Sancho. I am so happy they've developed into the players they can become, because it just makes that, you know, it makes the rebuild a lot more special. But let's get into the last season and see what these players can accomplish. So This is what the players managed to accomplish in the final season. It is going to be a quadruple winning season. Absolutely fantastic to see. Winning the Premier League, winning the Champions League versus Liverpool, winning the Carabao Cup versus Liverpool, and the Community Shield against Manchester City. Runners-up against Arsenal in the FA Cup. Best at scoring goals, letting in 27, ranking us as second best. Rashford scoring 56 goals again. This guy has really, really taken off in this save. And in terms of actual stats then, we are going to have 56 from Rashford, 45 from Ademi, 31 for Sancho, 20 for Fernandes, 19 for Varane, 18 for Fofana, 8 for Gakpo, 7 for Goretzka, 5 for Porro. Assists, we've got 34 from Bruno, we've got 29 for Sancho, 24 for Rashford, 16 for Ademi, 14 for Nkunku, 11 for Shaw, and 10 for Goretzka. Now, this team has honestly been a joy to build. The new ownership has definitely been a key factor to this. They've been very, very generous with what we've been able to bring in, the players that we've been able to attract as well. And if we look at what this team was, if you go all the way back to the start of the video and look at the team we first put out, compared to what we've got now, this team wins 9 out of 10 times, 10 out of 10 times. It is honestly incredible, the team have managed to build. And some of the players, obviously, original Manchester United players, sorry about that. We've got Luke Shaw's obviously remained. We've got Rashford. We've got Bruno. We've got Sancho. We've got Varane, if I didn't say that as well. On the bench, we've kept Dean Henderson. We've kept Dalot. We've kept Casemiro, Martinez, Martial. We've got Donny van der Beek, Malacia, Diallo. So we've also kept a lot of Manchester United players. So we've got rid of the players we didn't want and brought in new players. And if we're being honest as Manchester United fans, we know that there's probably, you know, still a lot of players in that Manchester United team that do need to go. But it's a lot easier to do it in a game than it is in real life. But let's have a little look then, exactly what we have managed to do in terms of trophies and things like that. So this is going to be the competitions, what we've won in the 5 seasons, and then you guys can decide, was this rebuild a success? In my opinion, yes. So 2022, runners-up in the FA Cup, winning the Premier League and also the Community Shield. 2023 season come upon us. We won the FA Cup, runners-up in the Community Shield. Next season come in the 2024 season, a little bit better from us here. Carabao Cup winners, FA Cup winners, Champions League winners, Community Shield winners as well. Runners-up in the Super Cup as well. Didn't win the Premier League. That was when we lost by, I think it was a point. The next season come upon us, 2025. Won the Premier League, won the FA Cup, runners-up in the Champions League as well. Winning the FIFA Club World Cup as well, which is always good, and the Community Shield. And then, in the last season, we managed to win the Carabao Cup, the Premier League, the FA Cup, and the Champions League. So a quadruple winning season. And I genuinely think this is one of the best rebuilds I've ever done. Purely because it's my club, I'm going to say that. But no, do let me know how you think this has gone on. But that is going to be it for today, guys. I hope you have enjoyed this rebuild. This is probably the most fun I've ever had making a rebuild. So please do show some support on the video. Like a video, is completely free. And please do subscribe to the channel. The channel is growing absolutely crazy at the moment. There's tons of content coming your way. There's going to be even more content coming in the next Football Manager series, including live streams. So definitely get involved and turn on notifications as well. But that is going to be it for today, guys. And I'll see you in the next one.